Divorce is hard enough. It's really hard. I know I've been there. But when there's a house and property involved, things become even more complicated. Because a house is not just four walls and a roof. It may be the place where you raised those sweet children, celebrated all the birthdays and spent holidays and built a life together. And now, somehow, that dream has shattered and you have to decide what happens to it next. As a realtor who was a paralegal for over 20 years, I understand that selling a home with someone who is now your ex can really feel like rough terrain. This is why I work diligently, professionally, and compassionately with both parties that are selling. When emotions are already running high, even simple decisions about price, repairs, showings, or offers can become difficult. And unless there is someone involved whom both parties trust to remain neutral and focused on the transaction, negotiation can become even more challenging. My job is not to take sides. My job is to help both parties stay focused on the property, the process, and the common goal of getting the home sold as smoothly and as fairly as possible. So can you sell a home while you're in divorce? That's a great question. Yes, you absolutely can. But how that happens depends on where you are in the divorce process. In Oklahoma, once a divorce petition has been filed and served, there are legal restrictions that can affect the sale or transfer of marital property of any type. That does not necessarily mean the home cannot be sold. The home may still be sold if both parties agree in writing, if there's a settlement agreement addressing the sale, or if the court enters an order allowing or requiring the property to be sold. A temporary order or the final divorce decree may also determine what happens to the home. And that is one reason cooperation really matters. If both parties agree that selling the home is the best decision they can make, we can all work together with your attorneys and the title company to move the transaction forward properly. But if one person wants to sell and the other does not, that may have to be resolved through the attorneys or ultimately by the court. As the realtor, I do not make that legal decision and I do not give legal advice. My job is to understand the process, communicate carefully with everyone involved, and make sure the real estate transaction follows the agreements and court orders that are put in place. One of the biggest mistakes people can make during a divorce is treating the sale of the house or the property like an ordinary real estate transaction. It usually is not. One person may want to sell, the other may want to stay. One may believe the house is worth far more than the market will support. There may be disagreements about repairs, mortgage payments, equity, personal property, showing the home, accepting an offer, or even who gets to make certain decisions. And underneath all of that, there are emotions. A lot of them. That is why selling a home during divorce requires more than simply putting a sign in the yard. It requires communication, organization, patience, and a clear process. When I work with a divorcing couple, my goal is to remain as neutral as humanly possible and focus on the property and the transaction. What does the home realistically need in order to sell? What is the market telling us about value? What repairs actually matter? How will showings be handled? How will offers be communicated? and what needs to happen to get everyone from where they are today to the closing table. Sometimes both people are involved in every decision, and that's fine. Sometimes communication needs to be handled separately, and that's fine. And sometimes the attorneys need to be involved before a decision can move forward. The goal is to take as much unnecessary conflict out of real estate transactions as possible. Because here's the truth. You do not have to agree about your marriage to agree that protecting the value of one of your largest assets matters. A home that sits on the market because of conflict, a house that is not properly prepared, missed mortgage payments, refusing reasonable showings, or making decisions based on anger instead of the market can cost both parties money, and that's money to rebuild. Divorce may be the end of one chapter, but eventually both people have to begin the new chapter. And sometimes selling the home is part of making that possible. And I want you to know something. I would be honored to be your realtor of choice while you are going through a divorce, even if it's difficult. But I would also be honored to help you rebuild afterward. Because once the home is sold and the divorce is over, life keeps moving. You may need to find a new home. You may need to downsize. You may even need to start over in a completely different place. Or you may simply need time before you are ready to decide what comes next. But I promise you, whatever it is, life will get better. But I would love the opportunity to help you move forward when you are ready. The journey home is not always what you thought it would be. Sometimes home is the place where a family begins. And sometimes selling that home becomes part of finding your way forward. Sometimes home is where you begin again. I'm Jenna Sizemore with Chenoweth and CohenRealtors with the Sizemore team and OklahomaHomematch.com. And when real estate becomes complicated, you do not have to figure it out alone. Because no matter what chapter of life you're in, home really is where your heart lives. This video is for general information purposes only and is not legal advice. Anyone involved in a divorce should consult with their own attorney. Have a great day and thank you for watching. It really does get better.